Hey everyone, it's the R. Sean. Welcome to another edition of the Do Business Differently show. Today I got Todd Saylor joining me. You'll see him over there in the other window. We're going to be talking about paying people to leave. So Todd's got a couple of companies, and he actually has implemented policies to pay people to get out or to get out the right way. So Todd, why don't you jump in and just give me kind of a high-level view of what you're doing differently than what most people are doing out there.
Well, you can always count on you to come up with something radical, right?
Well, I think we need to be unique and different in business. You got the Wired Differently brand. I got Do Business Differently, right? You're doing business in a way that makes sense for you, right?
We're clearly different people doing things differently, and I think that's why I'm attracted to you. Not just that coat, but I think everything is a lot of fun. And so I keep coming back, man. You're like this, you just keep reeling into the big. So anyway, I have a couple companies, Sean, and it was nice having you come to actually the corporate party.
That was awesome. That was awesome, man. That was great. I had a wonderful time. I enjoyed coming down there.
You're a celebrity, TED Talk dude. I mean, It was great. Everyone was like, wow, you got Sean here. I'm like, hey, how we roll. So here's the deal. I think that it's just not just that we pay people to leave or we posture them to leave. It's this whole idea of what can we do more? What can we do differently? Not only for the employee. I think that we're out there as employers. We're constantly looking for ways to literally get better people, make the people we have happier, go out and find more and do more. But a lot of times we get so gung-ho on that, Sean, that we don't think about, hey, what about us as the employer? Yeah. What about me? What about the fact that we've got to keep this thing grinding 24/7, 365 days a year? Somehow we got to stay profitable. We got to keep rolling. We got to keep. So, I think there's got to be some in between here. So one of the things that we've done for middle to higher end caliber, not just salary people, but a good influential hourly people as well, is we enter into a relationship with them that not only do we give them a severance package, but in that severance package, we pay them to leave properly. Does that make sense? So we pay them. It's not, we're giving great vacations, and we're doing insurance. We're doing everything everyone else is. And we do some extra things with PTO as well, kind of like what you're talking about, actually giving them bonus money to go out and have a good time when they do have vacations. But what about that rogue employee, Sean, that just decides to leave?
Yeah,
that's the one that really hurts you, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I hear a lot of people, somebody disappears, they just don't come to work one day, or, they say, hey, I got a new job, see ya. And in the U.S., we really don't have a system, and I think you're going to get to this in a minute. The U.S. system doesn't obligate the employee generally to come to work, right? It's at will. You can get rid of them when you want. They can leave when they want, but I get what you're saying. If certain employees leave at the wrong time, it's going to leave a mess.
Yeah, well, we're in one of my largest companies is in the payroll industry, HCM, human capital management industry. And not that that's more important than the others in case any of the employees are listening, but listen, like year ends, time around the end of the year, you lose a key employee and you got to make deadlines. And so I just think that it's a give and take. And I think even the good employees realize that, hey, if the employer is smart enough to do extra things for me, then maybe I should also understand why they need a little bit of certainty too. So one of the things we do that is we take a certain employee at a certain level, which doesn't mean that it has to be an executive or somebody that it's just the component of what they do and their importance level of the day-to-day functions. Mm-hmm. And we actually pay them a severance package if they leave appropriately. So we're going to pay them as much as 3 months cash if they give us the window to adjust for their exodus.
Okay. And so this is built into the documents when they show up at work, or?
Yes, sir. I know you're that attorney guy, and you know what? You could probably even make it better.
I probably could. I don't know. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I'm pretty good at drafting contracts. I've done a lot.
I know you are. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send it over to you, and we're gonna jack that baby up.
Okay, but yeah, so And I love the fact that you put this in the contract at the beginning. I don't think enough employers do that, right? I mean, your employment contract, it could be a standard piece of paper that nobody reads and it gets thrown in a file, or it can be the rules and regulations of how you're going to work together. And that's what you're
Right.
moving towards, right? He's like, this is how we're going to work together. Here's what we're going to do. And in fact, if you treat me right, I'm going to give you a bonus.
Right. And unfortunately, we're in a day and age, or fortunately, or actually, I should say fortunately, the president of this country, from one way or the other, put us in an economic binge.
Mm-hmm.
And these people can go pretty much anywhere, anytime they want, and find jobs. And so we want to make sure at this juncture, and hopefully that it stays this way for a good time to come, that they have incentive to leave properly. And that's what I think. Fortunately, we have to look forward. We have to think forward as entrepreneurs or business people and get out in front of the problem before it happens. And that's not going to eliminate them all, Sean. But hey, what if you came to work for me? Which, my goodness, wouldn't it be awesome if we were a team and we were under the same federal ID number, right? But
Yes.
if I said to you, I need you. You're that important. You're that valuable to me. And here's what we're going to do with PTOs and paid vacations and options and all these types of things. And by the way, I don't want you to ever leave if you do. I want you to leave in the right way. And here's what I'm going to do if you leave properly. X amount of dollars under these terms, and this is how this will work on the way out.
Yep. And those terms, I imagine you've spelled them out based on past experience and what's happened before.
Well, I think obviously this depends on the state.
Yep.
Depends on their job, their BFOQs. It depends on the level of their immediacy.
Yeah.
There's certain opportunities in different organizations that we have that, let's face it, they're easier to replace than others.
Yeah.
So ideally, you turn the valve up on the ones that are really critical. Right.
So do you vary the amount of compensation and what the package looks like depending on the position?
I would like to say that, but we got to make sure that we're complying to the equal standard and fair laws that reside in those situations. So I don't want to get myself too far in advance, but I'm sure there's things that vary in those depending on the titles and their job position.
Gotcha. But you've kind of figured out, hey, this is going to help me operationally. It's going to protect the business, and therefore I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I think it's a little, it's self-serving. Because I'm trying to hedge my bet against that. It's expensive, but if I'm hedging my bet against that abrupt 10-year leave, think about how much it's going to cost me to fix a client that they took the secret keys with, or how much it's going to cost me to retrain somebody under difficult terms. But if we can encourage these people to leave professionally, you would think. Back in the day, everyone gave 2 weeks notice.
Right.
Yeah, they were raised that way. I mean, there's still people that do that, but in many cases, 2 weeks is not enough in the industries that we're in.
Yes.
And we need more than 2 weeks. We want to be able to train. We want to be able to have the pipeline full of people that we can move up, next person up. And so we want to hedge our bet in that regards, and that's how we do it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's unexpected, depending on the level of position, it could certainly take you well over 2 weeks to staff a position, to know who the replacement's going to be.
Yeah, and there's some jobs that take a year to learn in our industry.
Right. And so by at least getting that, you have a chance to, I guess, what are you doing during this period? You're identifying a potential replacement, I guess. You're getting a download from the outgoing employee on what they're working on.
Right.
You're transitioning and talking to your clients, right? There's probably a lot going on during this period of time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're ahead of me. I mean, you want the time to get the client understood. You don't want it to be abrupt. You don't want the client to always be feeling a transition. You want to make sure that you're able to hopefully not have to hire somebody to fill that spot. You got somebody close that can be geared up within the organization that can fill that role.
Right. You're still gonna have, you're usually gonna have a hole somewhere, right? I mean, even if you have a great person ready to move up, and maybe even somebody below them moves up, you're gonna need some help somewhere probably.
Right. Absolutely. And so that gives us time for that as well. And it's not But it also allows us some leverage when, let's say, this person has really reached their limit, and sometimes it's just not tenable, and we're kind of halfway there with somebody, and you can negotiate the buyout. You can do things if you don't want them. Sometimes you don't even want them in your building if it's a difficult termination in that regards. But now you have that leverage to actually move things around, make sure you get your data, make sure you get things organized. Maybe let someone work from home so you can get yourself in a position. And then you work, then you're in a position, the way the contract wrote, to actually work something out if someone isn't capable of staying the 60 or 90 days, or depending on how long that lasting period is wrote for.
Yeah, and so that raises another interesting point, which I talk to my clients about. Under contract law, and I'm talking very broadly here, it's going to vary depending on situation. You can amend contracts. So if you put a provision like what you're talking about in there, you can use that just kind of a starting point, right? I mean, then you can say, hey, what is 60 days realistic, 90 days? What can we do to make this work from both sides, right? It's a conversation starter, but it sets the tone up. We need to have a transition plan.
Yeah. And in many cases, if someone's in there we have them locked in for, let's call it a 3-month transition period, and we've got it figured out, and they don't want to be in your building, or they don't want to be tethered to that organizational situation. They want to get out and start looking, or they haven't found. You can actually negotiate with them those final 2 months and say, hey, I see you're not as effective as we thought you were going to be. We got to this point where we've ultimate situational need, and you want to get out there and look, go out there and do it. Let's just settle this right now.
Yep.
And it seems to work out really well like that, Sean. Unfortunately, I've been in that position twice. That twice. Not a lot, but I've been in that position twice.
What's going to happen?
In both situations, my good friend, I'm still in a situation where I can talk with these people. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. You don't want, you want to limit the amount of conversations about your organization, certainly in a negative light, regardless of separation.
Yes.
And I found this has really helped in a separation process.
So you think it's kept things more professional and kept things more to where, I mean, you probably want the information on what's working and what's not working internally. You just don't want that going out to the whole world.
Right. And I want the person who's leaving, under these terms that we've paid them to leave correctly. And I want them at the next place, water cooler, realizing, hey, that place was not so bad, or at least they did this for us. They aren't bad-mouthing us down the road and say, you know what that guy did? He didn't follow through with this, and there was that's why I left. The better of an employer you can be for a person, not only on site, but in the relationship field, outside of the confinement of an employer role, I think the better it bodes for you. I mean, it's interesting. I'd love to do a show with you about this whole work-life balance thing. I'm not taking you off track.
Yeah, no, it's important, and it's a topic I talk about from time to time. I have a theory. I like to talk about work-life integration.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm more work-life harmony.
Okay.
Balance doesn't work, does it?
No, I don't think the two are always pushing on each other. They're interconnected. That's why I like integration. You like harmony, but they're not separate. They're not. They work together.
And you're so right. You're so right. And as an employer, if we can just grasp this concept of, it's not just about you as the employer and you being balanced and you getting what you want and everything going the way it's supposed to go on the balance sheet, and the banks are happy and the vendors are happy and the customers. You know what? At the end of the day, the most important asset you have is your employee.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's enough that they just hear it, but it's even better when you show it in contracts and, employment agreements and certain things like that. And you show that you're willing to be diligent about it and work through certain things. But more importantly, that you understand that their home life and the things that happen outside of the workplace are just as important, because like you said, you need work-life integration. We need this harmony, because there's no such thing as a 50. Balance to me is 50-50. A banana gets to a point where it ripens and it starts to spoil. there's, you're either getting taller or you're shrinking. I mean, you're either
Right.
getting stronger or you're getting weaker. You're either getting, wiser or your brain's starting to fry. I mean, there's no real perfect balance out there. And we need to, certainly from a work-life perspective, like we're talking about, and we're kind of drifting in some regards here, but we need to make sure that we're finding a way to help our employees know that we want work-life harmony as CEOs and presidents. But
Yep.
it's important that we impress on them, Sean, that we're about their work-life harmony.
Well, yeah, that's how you keep good people sticking around, right? Is you make it a good deal for them. And that's usually beyond just having a good business, having a good financial package. You want them to actually enjoy the totality, right?
Yeah.
You and I speak the same language. So I want to zoom back. You're the Wired Differently guy, right? You got the book Wired Differently out there, and I love that. We talked a little bit about one of the results of Wired Differently to open the show, which is paying people to leave in the right way. Let's step back and look at the process of wiring your company differently. I mean, Todd, what makes you say, let's try something different? Or where did this idea even come from to do what very few employers are doing?
Well, as far as paying them to leave,
Yeah, I mean, where does this idea come from, and how does it become part of your business? I mean, how do you just be different than everybody else?
well, it's, honestly, it's simple. How would you want it if you were them? I know that sounds cliche, but honestly, I spend more time in the other shoes than I do in my shoes. I don't want to call myself a warrior, but you can ask my wife, you can ask my CFO and my operational people. But we constantly role play. Even when it comes to politics. Now, why would the Democratic side think this way? Why would the Republican side? Or why? What the heck are they thinking, Sean? Why? I don't understand why they're thinking this, but they clearly are. So let's really dig into it. So it really should be, as a CEO's number one job is why.
Yeah.
Why? Why are we having turnover? Why are people thinking the way they're thinking? Why are people not productive? I know we ask the question, but do we ever say, okay, I'm going to go do this job for a day?
Yeah.
Or am I going to go talk to the person? Exit interviews. I mean, most companies don't do them.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds, yeah, we do. Yeah, well, do you really? So I really think that differently is this concept of truly understanding what is to be like in someone else's shoes. I went so far as to, I was in Las Vegas once, right? Well, several times. I'm not gonna lie about that. But one time I was getting my shoes shined on the street, and it's always kind of a weird feeling, you get your shoes shined because someone's actually shining your shoes. Well, this particular individual shining my shoes, and he was a great guy. He had stories for days, and I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm uncomfortable. I got up and I said, sit in the chair. And I just said, how do I do this? And I started shining his shoes, man. They happened to be tennis shoes. And I was, bah, 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 bah. He says, get some of that soap. Bam, bam, bah, 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 bah. People were walking, yeah. And, for what it matters, I did it. One other time I was in LA, and this is my family, and I got kind of turned around, and they were shopping, and I was a little bored. And obviously we see a lot of people on the street corners asking for money and things of that nature. And I'm just like, I've always been very weak when it comes to that stuff. Mm-hmm. But this particular day, I thought, what's it feel like to be someone who has to ask for money? So, turned my shirt inside out, and went out there on the corner, and I wasn't coming in until I got $10. And I was out there a while. I wasn't very good at it, it was really hard, Sean. It was really hard. And for whatever it's worth, I really gained a lot of respect for that situation or whatever that talent. But I got my $10. I got my $10 and I gave it to the guy on the other corner. But I've had other scenarios where, those are a little dramatic.
Yep.
but this is that idea. I mean, you ask why I'm wired differently. I mean, I don't know how many CEOs have done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an experiment, and it's something a lot have done. You know, it reminds me of that TV show Undercover Boss, right? The guy or woman goes out there and gets in a regular entry-level job, you know?
Well, I dare you to go out on the corner down the road there, and where you at? Who knows what house you're in today, but I dare you to go out there. You might be able to do pretty well with one of those jackets you got.
I might do okay with one of the jackets. When do I do it here? Because they've been arresting the panhandlers on the corner here, but some other time. I don't quite want to get arrested for it, but so
why do we always have so much fun on our shows? It's not fair.
We're just living life and enjoying the business. I find business to be enjoyable, and I think you do too. It's about the people, it's about the impact, you know, and it becomes fun at some level when you're doing it the right way. Todd, you know, you got the book Wired Differently out there. I know you go out and speak to different organizations. Why don't you tell people where they can go check out your book, find you, connect with you more?
Yeah, so that's really cool. Obviously, my name's Todd Saylor, Saylor, and the book is Wired Differently. WiredDifferently.com. You can go on the website. You can buy the book. We'll send you a signed book. We have apparel. My next book is called It's Our Culture. See what I'm showing off right here?
There you go. Okay. I was wondering where the Wired Differently shirt was. All right. You're already
ready. So I figured you'd let me plug something what I got on here.
Of course.
But it's Wired Differently, and the culture of Wired Differently. I'm going to have 7 traits of the Wired Differently individual leadership styles, and what is that person look like, and why are you so messed up? It's okay. We'll get through it together, you know? So that's kind of what's going on there. But WiredDifferently.com is where you can catch up with any of that stuff. Apparel. I just created a CD, a motivational coaching CD. It's really really cool. I really enjoy doing that. And most of all, I like doing these things with you, Sean.
Well, I enjoy them too, and I think it helps to keep folks that are watching, man. We want to hear from you. Let us know. Write to us. Don't be afraid. We're accessible. Let us know what you're learning, what questions you have, what you want us to cover in the future. We have fun helping other business owners
out there. Listen, Sean knows what he's doing. This guy's been around, and he's very easy to talk to. He doesn't look regular, but he really is regular.
Somewhat regular, yeah.
Dude, that shirt. Okay, the coat is sick, but the shirt is just.
You don't like the shirt? Huh?
I love it, man. I love it.
It's got palm trees. You need to find us in your backyard.
I know. Yeah. I got nothing, man.
All right, guys. Drop us some comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Do Business Differently show on YouTube. Subscribe to my Future Done Right show as well. Look for my blogs at planningdoneright.com. Todd and I are going to be doing a lot together this year. We want to see you at one of our live events. And make sure you check out Todd's work as well. We'll be talking to you again very soon, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Want to see your comments. All right.